Shout out to these fans for coming up with the idea to this video. If you have any cool ideas for a future video, let me know in the comments below. I may just give you a shout out. What's up everybody, I am the Net Alliance. Today I'm ranking the Hunger Games franchise. Now I'm not a book reader. I do like comic books, but I don't like regular books, so I'm not going to be taking any of the source material from the actual books themselves and comparing them to the movies. So I'm just going to be viewing the movies from pure entertainment value, taking all the aspects and going to be judging them from worst to best. But of course, you already know the drill, so let's begin. At number 4, I have Mockingjay Part 2. Now this is the conclusion to the film franchise. This one should have been the big bang, the big impact, and honestly it fell flat for me. One of the biggest aspects of this film, although the characters were pretty cool, and I understand they wanted to follow the source material, but one of the things that really pissed me off about this film was the fact that no matter what they were doing, the main characters that is, nothing mattered. What I wanted to see was Katniss leading like armies against the Capitol's armies. You know, I wanted to see that happening, but instead we got this little thing where she was kind of like sneaking her way through. And to add on to my point of what nothing matters, the very end still would have happened even if she wasn't meddling with the whole story. So you can take Katniss and her entire crew out of that entire story of Part 2, and the world will still unfold the way it is. Her showing up had no impact on all the kids getting blown up at the end. If you look at it, honestly, just think about it. Some people really like the Hunger Games film, especially the last one, and it's because they're like, well, you know, it's a good story. It's all good. It's a really good story. And then when I tell them about this, they're like, oh wait, you know what? Yeah, you're right. So honestly, just think about it. Think of the final film. Take Katniss and her entire crew out of the overall story. Look at the entire story as a whole, and you'll realize that something doesn't add up. Now, although the cast was good, the action was good, everything about the film was adding up to be good, the overall story kind of is meaningless. And that's why I think that this film is so low on my list and why it is number 4. In the end, the reason why Mockingjay Part 2 is so low is because it is a meaningless film. Everything that happens to Katniss in this film could have been avoided. And in the very end, everything would have still turned out whether she killed all her friends or not. That is why I do not like this film, and that is why it's number 4 on my list. At number 3, I have Mockingjay Part 1. I honestly think that the worst thing for these films is the fact that they were decided to be split in half instead of put together. I do think that if these films would have been one single film, just like the first 2 films in the franchise, I do think that it would have been a much more impactful ending. But however, they decided to split it because of money, and it ruined the entire story. Now, where Part 2 was meaningless, Part 1 was just boring, especially when you consider the first 2 films were pretty good and action-filled. And I understand it's another case of source material. I do think that sometimes the source material should be changed a little bit to really feed to the entertainment value of the film, but of course that's just me. Moving on to the characters and the overall story, I understand the whole idea of her becoming a symbol. In fact, I like that idea. Let's say in the first film she was a warrior, second film she was a champion, third film she was kind of a symbol for the Rebel Alliance, I guess you could call them. And then in the Part 2, she should have realized that she should be more than a symbol, she should be a hero. And I think that would have made a bigger impact if they would have did that, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And that is arguably the saddest part of the Hunger Games franchise. The first 2 films were so strong, and the last 2 were so lacking. And that's one of the problems with Hollywood nowadays, is the fact that they'll take a good story and they'll split them in half, or sometimes even 3 if we're talking about the Hobbit franchise, and they'll ruin it. And that's the problem. We can't have that happen anymore. I understand it makes more money, but the whole thing is you're devaluing your product. Why would you want to do that to your franchise as well as hurt your fans? It's just stupid. But then again, money rules the world and everyone loves it, so that's the way it's gonna be. At number 2, I have the first film, The Hunger Games. This one came in, you know, I wasn't expecting much from it. I didn't really know what it was, and then I went to see it and it was actually really good. It kind of reminded me of like Spartacus, and I kind of saw that future for it, kind of like, you know, she's sort of a slave, she becomes a warrior, and then she eventually becomes a leader of her own alliance against the people who oppressed her in the first place. That's what I was expecting. That didn't exactly happen in the end, but I did like the beginning of this film franchise. The film had good casting, good action, it tugged at the heartstrings a little bit here and there. And I think it was an overall good film. It's one of those films where you try to pick out the little negative things, but honestly I can't think of anything negative to say about it. Of course, with that being said, although I can't find anything negative, that doesn't mean that it's a perfect film. There are the occasional things where it's like, Well, that doesn't really kind of make sense, but I understand because they're in like a virtual arena, so I guess I can just let it go. But then again, if it's a virtual arena, then they shouldn't be able to feel anything anyways, and therefore they're all still alive somehow. Or maybe it's all in Katniss's mind. Maybe Katniss has escaped the insane asylum, and in her head, the woods is the arena, and everyone trying to find her and kill her is actually trying to find her and help her, but she ends up killing them all. Whoa, imagine that. Mind blown. But of course, coming back from that tangent, it's a good film. If you haven't seen it yet, watch 1 and 2. Don't watch part 1 and part 2. Just leave those go. Watch 1 and 2, you'll be happy. And rounding out the end of this list at number 1, I have Catching Fire. If you've seen my other videos, you already know what I'm gonna say about sequels being better than the originals. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. Not only is Catching Fire a better film in my opinion, but it also improves The Hunger Game even more. It raises the stakes, it increases the depth of the characters, and it gives us even more better action. Now, of course, it pretty much is The Hunger Games 2.0, but that's not a bad thing considering it should be that. I don't even know if I have to explain why this is the best film, it just is. But all in all, the Hunger Games franchise started out so strong, but it ended so weak, and it's really unfortunate that happened. I heard there's gonna be future films somewhere, so I hear, I don't know if there's another book coming out, I hear talk of that. So maybe they'll come back and they'll try to improve upon that with their own story or something, which would be cool. But like I said earlier in the video, if you're gonna watch the Hunger Games franchise, just watch 1 and 2 and just kind of forget 3 and 4 even exist. But that's it for this ranking. Let me know your ranking in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you guys enjoy my videos. And until next time, guys, we'll see ya. Peace.